All right, my fellow geeks, strap in. Let's get crazy. This is Hazard. You're on GameSpasm, and we are doing a showcase of Ironsworn stuff for no other reason other than I really want to. Now, today, before work, my amazing wife, Nurse Jenny, wanted to hang out, so I didn't get a chance to do any recording. And then after work, I'm going to a thing, so I won't have time. But I do have a couple gaps at work, including right now. I have a half hour until my next client, so this is going to be less than a half-hour video. Excellent, right? Restrictions make for great art. So we are going to today talk about Ironsworn Delve, which is the second book. It's not a trilogy or anything, but actually kind of is. Stay tuned for that next video. So Ironsworn, you probably already know about. I already talked about it in my last video. You should go watch it. It's solidly mediocre. And so today I'm going to talk about Delve, and the only way to do it is at work. And the only way to do it at work then is to do it poorly. So you're welcome. This is I just wanted to talk about my toys, and the only way to do that is to do it at work. So as you can see here, I have a let's go to the cam focus here. I have my mashed potatoes webcam. I have a mediocre webcam strapped to a cheap claw for holding cell phones with a wire running down to a very, very bouncy table. I don't know why it's so bouncy. I also had to rotate the table in order to get this reflection to not be on every single thing that I was showing you. And yes, there's also autofocus that's just going to do that the whole time. So you're welcome for this. This is apex level quality of video. Okay, so let's stop saying so. You have to drink every time I say so. In the comments, somebody write down how many times they had to drink, as evidenced by how many times I said so, which means you're going to have to start the video over and count from there. Okay. As we discussed in the last video, Ironsworn was my primary introduction to solo tabletop. Oh, wait. That's right. I got to hide the camera. I can only or the microphone. I can only kind of hide the microphone. Hold on. Let me just there, see? Now all right, forget it. Anyways, Ironsworn was my original introduction to solo RPGs. I had messed with D100 and 4 Against Darkness, but they did not embrace the what I missed about, what I like about, role-playing with other people is the ingenuity and the iteration that grows from human beings stacking fiction on top of each other. And while you obviously can't get that from solo RPGs like Ironsworn, you can get something similar to it, and it's a personal experience, which can be exhausting. Sometimes I'm actually too tired to play a solo role-playing game, right? Oh, by the way, there's I think the British Isles back there. There's Ireland, British Ocean. Yeah, it's not my office. This is the office I work in on Tuesdays. All right, so I have to be aware of my waffling. I have 28 minutes in which to finish this. Technically, probably less because I have to, put this away so the next client doesn't think that they're walking into a radio station or something. Yes, so Ironsworn. Ironsworn was great. It was great as is, right? It provided basically a how-to manual of how to do solo role-playing. Towards the back here, it really gave you a fantastic example of how to do it. And while I wasn't clear about this in the last video, I'll be clear about it here. Ironsworn is largely, the idea is narrative role-playing, right? It's not crunchy. It's really not crunchy at all, to the point that people who, oh God, look at that. It's a ghost. People who are looking for crunch in this game often won't find it, or they hack it to add crunch back in, because it's the same kind of, ability check every time. It's 2d10 versus 1d6 in your stats. So it doesn't change a lot. But what it does do is, when I said, so the question I asked in the last video is this the best, solo RPG for beginners? And the answer I gave was yes. I want to clarify that I'm not saying it's the best because it's easy. I'm saying it's the best because it will help to pull people into this sort of version of narrative RPG solo playing, that if you love it, you'll love it. If you don't, you don't. So if you start doing this, I think Ironsworn's a fantastic example of sort of narrative solo role playing that has stats, it has mechanics, it has some amount of, it has texture to it. I wouldn't go so far as call it crunchy, but it's got texture. But not necessarily journaling. Now, some people do journal, and as a matter of fact, the way that I got into playing Starforged, which is my preferred version of this, is that I journaled like crazy, and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote, and it actually slowed me down. It actually kept me from playing as much as I wanted to, because, I need a drink. It stopped me from playing as much as I wanted to because I got slowed down by the process of having to type it. I even had the audacity to think I was just going to go full analog and write everything, and I just couldn't. But I also realized that I was doing something wrong, and for me, and that was that I was letting it become a journaling game versus allowing it to be a little more free flowing. I will say that recently, what helped me to break past that is Alex T's game Across a Thousand Dead Worlds, where I went into it fully knowing that I wasn't going to get super duper narrative. It's much crunchier than Ironsworn. It is also a solo playing game, sci-fi, so everything in space is better. But it made me realize two things. One, I didn't have to be so narrative. I didn't have to be so journalistic, if you will. But it also made me realize that this, like recording while I go, so I'm a chatty fucker. There's no doubt about that. I like talking. I've been told that I like the sound of my own voice. They are probably not wrong. And so my preferred way of playing is by talking, which is part of why I like playing with other people too, is the talking. And I think I process verbally. So like my best way of thinking, even when I'm playing alone in the basement, like if I'm playing Gloomhaven or some solo board game in the basement, Jenny always says that she loves that she can hear me down there muttering to myself. Like I just think out loud. And I do that too when I'm playing these games. But if I turn on a recorder and I talk out loud while I'm playing, I don't have to write down almost anything. I can just go back and look at the recording if I need to remember something, and it's out there. Plus I get to share it with other people who might get a kick out of it, and even if you don't, that's fine, because right, like the heart of YouTube once upon a time was just randos recording themselves and putting shit on the internet for funsies to show their cousin Louie or whatever. I don't have a cousin Louie. I do have a lot of cousins, but none of them are named Louie, coincidentally. That's not a coincidence, it's just a fact. I don't know what I'm doing. So anyways, I wanted to clarify that. So Ironsworn challenged me. It made me a better solo role player because, it gave me an action and a theme, right, on these tables, and then I needed to interpret it, and I fought past the discomfort of just being like, I don't know, that doesn't make sense, I can't use it. And in doing so, this is turning into a different video. This is turning into a video of why Ironsworn helped me become a better role player, solo role player. So maybe we're not. Maybe I just tricked you. Maybe I set this all up, and I'm not even going to talk about Delve. We're going to talk about. See, it's like a solo RPG. I thought one thing was going to happen, and something else happened. So Ironsworn challenged me and pushed me past the discomfort of just being like, I don't know, that doesn't make sense. Those two words don't work, and then just leaving it alone. Ironsworn also, there's several like digital versions of Ironsworn that are online that you can use to play the game. I wonder if I can show you one without making this table have a seizure. Hold on. Okay, so here we go. We're in the right general place here. Let's go to Iron Journal. So this is a absolutely fantastic online tool to allow you to play Ironsworn like completely here. Like you don't need paper at all. You can do all the moves. Like you can pull down the oracles. You can grab the plot. Whichever ones you want. So if you need like an action and a theme, aid decay, create path. You can copy them. You can create your journal. Keep it here. You can do all this stuff. And so I did like that, but one thing I noticed that this sort of took away from me for the experience was that one of the things that Sean Tompkinson Linden talks about in here is that if you roll two words and you don't like them, then swap the numbers. So if you roll a 47, then roll a 7, use 74, or use the word that's above or below it. And I actually like that because it feels less like throwing it away entirely and being like that roll doesn't work. And it feels more like just sort of like a phone a friend sort of thing. You're just going next door. But you can't do that really if you're using one of the digital implementations. And I go back and forth. I have such problems sticking with like analog versus digital. Which one's better? Which one should I use? I think like, digital is so convenient and so easy. I'm just going to use it all the time. But then I'll get like some Oracle, a third-party thing, and it just doesn't, it's not included, and I want to have that stuff. And so then I go to analog, and then I'm like, yeah, but do I really need that stuff? The game's fine as it is. And I go back to digital, and the vicious cycle continues on the spiral. I don't know if it's a downward or upward spiral. I think it's a circle. We're just going to call it a circle. Anyways, so because of Ironsworn sort of helping me push past that. But Ironsworn also taught me something very important. So I made a character. Actually, that character I just showed you on the screen a second ago, I can show you again. That character, Tessa, right? That's her name? Yeah, Tessa. I wanted to make a character who was, an everyday person. Like she, for the most part, had an everyday life. Now, when she was young, her friend was killed in a boar attack, and her friend was cherished by the village, and everybody loved her. And since Tessa was there, some people feel like she should have done something. Other people think, of course not, that's ridiculous. She was a young girl. But now Tessa feels obligated to be a defender, and she grows up like with this like low self-value and this need to throw herself into danger. And that's great. I made a great character, and then I gave her nothing to do. Right, so like I totally missed. There's an important part somewhere in the book, and I fear I'm incapable of finding it for you very quickly. You know what? I'm gonna try. Hold on. Okay, I was right. I'm probably never gonna be able to find it, but I will say it's probably somewhere around where he's talking about playing a heroic character in a harsh land. But, or you know what? I might actually be accidentally misattributing. I think it's the guy from, there's a YouTube channel called Me, Myself, and Die who does great solo role playing, and I'm sorry I forget your name, sir. He says, like, you have to provide drama. Like, your scenes need to have drama. And I failed because my character, she's going to go find the boar that killed her friend. It was okay. This one, basically, I leaned so far into the media, into the milquetoast. I made it so real that she had nothing to do. She was basically a hero without a quest, and she was boring. And I started 3 different times with that character before I realized the problem was me. The problem was I hadn't yet learned how to construct a good story where my I had yet to construct a good story where my hero actually had something to do. And I learned that because of Ironsworn, and it helped me to realize that I get so involved in the mechanics that I forget that the whole point of it is to sort of have the fun of discovering a story that I'm making on my own. It feels weird. I don't know why you need to see me when I'm talking, but it makes me happy. So that is why I thought Ironsworn was such a great introduction. But that is very much like the idea of this narrative thing. When you look at other games that are solo role-playing games, like, I think if you take like 4 Against Darkness, which really doesn't have any narrative to it at all unless you really force it in there. Same with D100 Dungeon. These are good games. D100 I actually like quite a bit. But, I know nothing about my character. Nothing really happens to him other than what happens when he's in the dungeons fighting things and looking for stuff. He is a complete blank slate. So if you have that on one side, and then you have Ironsworn over here, where it's in very, very narrative. And then somewhere in the middle, you have things like Across 1,000 Dead Worlds by Alex T, where you've got you do have a loop. There's a loop that brings you back around and gives you something specific to do and a little more framework to work in. Not that Ironsworn doesn't have a framework, but it says you can have a framework or not. You can do this or not. Like, you get to decide what it is, and then they give you a little bit of structure to help you do it. So Notorious is a game I'm playing right now that I haven't finished yet, and I really like it because it's also kind of in the middle. Notorious is like you're a bounty hunter, you're going after a thing, and it's a fairly compact game. It's not very big, and almost all the tables are just D6. At most, they're like D12 or basically that's it. And it's neat, and I'm enjoying it. But what I'm finding out, even in just one playthrough, that since everything's only a D6, there's repetition. Now, the way you solve that repetition is because in certain parts of the game, it will say, well, here, I'll show you. Hold on. All right, so in certain parts, when you look at the tables, they'll say things like, you find a torn backpack. What useful details about the owner are on the data pad there? Or what do the ragged tears in the backpack reveal about the owner's likely fate? So on one hand, I prefer it when a game actually gives me... I actually don't love it when a game just says, hey Brian, you tell me what happened, right? I want it to say, I want it to give me a direction, and then I like to have like the action and theme tables in Ironsworn to help me decide what that is. There's no such tables in Notorious, right? They don't give you that tool, that oracle. Now, of course, you can use whatever oracle you want, whenever you want to use it. There's no limitation. You can just go grab a different one. That's fine. But so with Notorious, you don't get the Oracle to help you make that decision, right? And I think the variety of Notorious is supposed to come from the fact that those questions are so open-ended that based on what planet you're on, what your bounty hunter's like, who the person they're going after, you're going to come up with a different thing. However, that being said, even in one playthrough that's lasted about 3-ish hours, I have, run into the same prompts multiple times. And while they're fun the first time, and sometimes you can work it in a second time, I could absolutely see something coming up a third time. And then I would just want to go buy the Outsiders expansion and start using that, so that I have the variety that I'm sort of craving, that I'm not getting because there's only 6 options in each table. That's not true. As you can see, like even in each option, there's an option. But it's meant to be compact like that. It's meant to be like a smaller thing. Ironsworn is designed to give you like just tons and tons of mileage, right? Like landscape to move through, right? I think one of the criticisms that this had, I don't know why I'm going to try to start talking about Delve now. We are way too far down the rabbit hole to start talking about Delve. It basically added a dungeon-esque element to Ironsworn that I guess you could say wasn't there, although I'm sure Sean Tomlinson would argue that, I know that's not how you say his name, it's just funny because the man alone said it wrong once, and now I just want to be a troll and say it wrong every time. I'm sure anybody could argue that using the stuff that's here, you could have created a dungeon. There's even a part in here where he says, when you talk about the oracles, when he discusses which oracles and what they're for, when he talks about action and theme, he even says right here, use the actions to discover the event, character, goal, or situation, and then use a theme. You can use to answer questions or generate new situations. And combined, they provide creative prompts suitable for most situations. And in fact, with some creative interpretations, it's entirely possible to play with only these 2 tables. Now, oh man, the autofocus on this is brutal. If you're a better person than me, and you can actually play this game using only action and theme, more power to you. I think that Starforge's addition of the descriptor focus made a big difference for when you were looking for like nouns and things. But my point being that I don't think it's a downside that, and like I'm a person with, combined presentation ADHD. So, if you don't give me handles on something very often, I just won't do it. And this game really did benefit me cognitively to push through the whole, I don't know what to do, I don't know what's happening next, or what should the right thing be. Or this sort of nutty idea that somehow I was going to be able to create a mystery that I don't know and figure out how my character's going to solve it. Like, maybe, I guess, but not likely. The reality is, this framework, and there's a lot of games that have sort of been inspired. Alex T himself, credits Ironsworn. So many people credit Ironsworn with being this sort of flash in the pan, this change in the zeitgeist of what solo role playing would look like. And I would be so bold as to say that it is Ironsworn, which came out originally in 2018, and the fact that he gave it away for free, which, who does that? It's amazing. I mean, like, yeah, he's charged for the other stuff, but so what? This is like a No Man's Sky thing where like they made you pay for a bad game once and then they gave you 20 expansions for $0. Amazing. Similarly amazing. And I think because it was free and because the pandemic happened, not long after it was released, it was perfect. It was lightning in a bottle, and it created the thing that we love now. Like, I am so into reading role-playing game books and trying to figure out how to play them solo. Like, there's so many games, and I know that you guys are like this too, there's so many games I have that I've never played that I don't know if I ever will play. Like, but I really want to. I mean, I've read Cyborg so many times, and I've got to run a Cyborg game for somebody. But I see that people have made like, solitary defilement and solitary defilement. And then there's like, there's one for Pirate Borg also, apparently. There's one where you can play that solo as well. These are great, and it's this collaborative, iterative nature, and all the hacks that are for it. Like, so many people made cyberpunk hacks for Ironsworn before Starforged even came out, and then went back and rehacked their hacks because Starforged has better moves and is like a little better put together. Which I don't think Sean Tomlinson would disagree with me on that. It's just a little hashed together better. To the point that people even take like the moves and the mechanics of Starforged and then retro hack it so that they can play Ironsworn but use the Starforged system, which I love the idea of, but I am too lazy and I have I have not and will not do that. So I guess the theme of this, looking at the oracles that my random squirrel brain just rolled, my spirit animal name, by the way, like the retreat I went on, my name was Determined Squirrel. So thank you. So my Determined Squirrel brain said that instead of talking about Delve, we were going to talk about why Ironsworn is so important. Yes, why Ironsworn is so important in our hobby, and the blessings that it has bestowed upon us in the way that it sort of changed how we look at games, how we play games, and even like it was so weird to me to see Ironsworn and to see that like your stats never change. I hated it. My first response to that was that I hated it because all I had ever really played for the most part with any level of frequency was D&D. I had played AD&D 2nd Edition when I was a teenager. I could tell you almost nothing about it. I mean, there was, Thaco, that was a thing. I played 3.5 ever so briefly, and I played 5. So I was used to abilities going up. Basically, I was used to power fantasies, and that's what 5e is. Everybody's a superhero. I didn't play 4. There were some board games that were out, like The Wrath of a Chardalon, which we called in our house. The kids said it wrong once. One of the boys called it The Rash of a Chardalon, so hence it was so named. Legend of Drizzt. Those games where they're like D&D board games and they kind of used 4th edition-ish mechanics. Basically, everybody's like an MMO character and you have all these abilities. I don't actually know that's... I'm talking out my ass, okay, just to be clear. I literally never played 4e. I didn't even read the book. So the idea that abilities didn't go up was really weird to me, and the idea of having to have cards, which now I love having the cards, and then just your if you think about it, it's really not that much different. Having cards with abilities on them and then those abilities improving isn't really not any different. It's just that knowing that those stats never change, which technically I guess isn't true, right? Because if you get certain, this is hilarious, by the way, this ridiculous camera in my head. If you get certain abilities that like create ongoing bonuses to your stats that are always applicable, then your stats did kind of go up. So that's why I think Ironsworn is so important to our community, and I think it inspired so many people that then made things that were even better, including Sean himself. And I'm incredibly grateful for it. So even though it's not my favorite solo RPG, I still read it. I still go back to it. I still refer to the way that he helps teach me how to do a proper narrative. Also, I didn't notice this at first, but I really appreciate that like all of his books, whether you have Ironsworn or Delve or Starforged or Sundered Isles, these are all games within the same Ironsworn family. They all have strong female characters on the cover, and I think it's awesome. And they're so cool looking, and they're so like, I don't know, natural and appropriate that I didn't even notice until a while went by. I think when I finally got Sundered Isles, I was like, hey, that's cool. And also her arm, if you ever seen the cover for Sundered Isles, like the pirate chick that's on the front, she has like this crazy super ornate gilded metal arm. It's fucking awesome. Anyways, all right, it's 1:55, so that means I have to get off of this because I'm going to have a client soon. This has been me talking about Ironsworn again in the Ironsworn showcase. So that is all. Thank you. Tune in tomorrow for more random shit and or me playing Notorious. I thought my guy was going to die the last time I played, so I kind of thought it was going to end, and then it didn't end, and I was a little bit like, oh, all right. we'll keep going, because I hate it when people don't finish. When you're watching somebody on YouTube and they're doing like an actual play for a role-playing game, and they just never finish. They just say like, all right, well, that's it. There's your taste. Thank you. I really kind of want to finish it, even if it's at least me just saying, all right, I'm gonna let it finish, like, because they have the option of letting them die in certain situations. I'll tell you what, the bounty hunter I was playing, the person he came up against, it wasn't looking good. See, look, I'm tempting you to watch other dumb videos. Anyways, this is it. I'm done. We're out of time. Thank you so much for watching if you did. I just did this because I like talking about things I like. And carry on with courage. I'll talk to you later.